There is something about playing God in games that really leaves a satisfying feeling, whether it be the total control and domination that you have over others, or having the complete liberty to do what you want. Either case, Reus is one of those games that scratches that itch. Since this game is nearly a decade old and a sequel has been promised, I thought it would be a good time to revisit this old favorite of mine. For those of you who are unfamiliar to Reus, fear not, as I also have almost completely forgotten everything about the game, so we can take a step by step together in figuring this one out. First of all, this game is a God game, as I've already established. We are put in the shoes of Mother Nature and we have direct control over 4 elemental giants. We have Malphite, the mountain giant, Iron, the tree giant, Swamp Thing, the swamp giant, and Mr. Krabs, the ocean giant. All jokes aside, these gigantic creatures actually have no given names and are only referred to as quote-unquote the terrain they have control over plus giant. As their name implies, they're able to influence the land by creating terrain specific to each said giant. For example, the ocean giant is able to pound on the barren land, concaving it and digging it deep enough for it to pour out water and creating an ocean. Or the mountain giant, raising up mountains, creating desert land nearby. And following the pattern, the forest and swamp giants are also able to create forests and swamps respectively, albeit that these two terrains need to be specifically placed nearby water in order for them to be able to thrive. Depending on the terrain created, different types of villages will eventually spawn there. You could have a desert settlement in the desert biome, a forest settlement in the forest biome, or a swamp settlement in the swamp biome. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and also check out this video on Populus, another God game type video that I made. Just make sure to check it out after this video, I'll definitely appreciate it. Anyways, enough self-promo, back to the video. In order for a village to appear in a biome, a source of natural resource must be found first. This initial node of resource can be any of the 3 main resources, either food, wealth, or technology. Each settlement has a specific resource they need more than others, and this is because the village needs that specific type of resource in order to complete the settlement's projects. A project is when the village decides to take up the monumental task of constructing a special structure. This said special structure will allow the village to grow even more and slowly further increases their borders. The finished building will also create a type of symbiosis with the surrounding terrain, increasing the productivity of certain types of resources. This relationship of symbiosis is one of the core aspects of the game, where you must utilize the limited land you have to its fullest efficiency. So, planning where to put down certain nodes of resources and what tech tree to upgrade them to, all of this needs to be planned out in advance in order for your settlement to reap the benefits at its highest potential. Since I'm a complete scrub and cannot be bothered to read a guide to learn the best placements, the next best option for me is to learn from good old trial and error. I usually don't like looking at guides and walkthroughs anyways, as I kind of feel like they take away the magic and surprise of playing a game while learning the ropes. I have nothing against it and the people that do use it, as sometimes I do as well, but you know, each to their own. That's the real beauty of video games, you can play it however you seem fit. Ain't no right or wrong, baby. Anywho, completing a project also gains you the access to an ambassador. Depending on the biome the settlement was created in, the ambassador will be a specific type that can influence the giant's abilities in different ways. For example, this forest village has completed their project and has sent an ambassador. One of our 4 giants will be able to pick up the forest ambassador to ride alongside them, allowing the giant to gain access to a specific ability or an upgrade. The skills gained between a specific biome ambassador and a specific giant is exclusive, so knowing what effects the ambassador will cause the giant to have is very important. Premeditating on what village should be constructed first to gain access to a certain type of ambassador quicker in the start is also a smart move. One too smart for me initially, but it was something that I learned on the way. As previously mentioned, in order to gain the aforementioned resources, they have to be spawned in through the different abilities that the giants have, and also upgraded through the different means of abilities the giants possess. At first, your starting abilities are quite limited, but as you progress through and keep playing, you get to unlock new abilities. The abilities and new upgrades you unlock are determined by how you played the game. Each playthrough of a game is called an era, where you basically start with a barren wasteland. Here, depending on what projects you've finished and how you played, and what sort of developments were done, influence the new things you unlock. These abilities are also influenced by the type of ambassadors you get, which we just talked about. Using the different types of abilities your giants have, you must mix and match the giant skills in order to help your settlement flourish and for you to gain high enough prosperity points. A settlement with high food, wealth, and technology will also have a high prosperity stat. Prosperity sort of serving as a score for the playthrough you're doing. Once you get the ball rolling and a village starts to get bigger and develop, the settlement will start becoming wealthier. And we all know what happens when people get a little too wealthy. They start getting greedy. Well, not everyone, but these virtual villages sure do. If a village gets too greedy, they'll engage in war, attacking other villages to pillage them, or attacking your benevolent giants. If they do manage to take out one of your giants, the run is basically over, and you do not gain any of the achievements or developments that you could have gained. So, greedy villages is definitely a bad thing, for sure. And there are several methods to make sure they are reminded of where they stand in the food chain. Firstly, you can set up dangerous wild animals on the edge of the village borders. These wild critters will be a threat to the settlement, so they would have to spend their manpower and time focusing on the danger at hand. This will keep them busy, so it will deter them from their greed. Another method is making sure a village has ore. Certain nodes of resources or symbiosis can provide ore to a village. Instead of gaining greed, the village will be awestruck at the marvels that you have done for them, humbling them to a point where their inner human greed will be deterred. Last but not least is divine punishment. The swamp giant can fling a muck bomb to warfaring villages and their armies to deal a fair bit of punishment. This in turn will damage but not destroy a village, serving them as a reminder who the boss is. However, if all fails, the mountain giant's earthquake ability can be used as a last resort. This seismic ability causes devastating damage, being totally able to wipe out a settlement from existence. I guess sometimes it's best to start again from scratch, if the canvas gets a little too dirty, you know. Aside from being able to create terrain, as mentioned, all the giants have unique abilities that separate them from one another. Each giant, respectively, have about 6 abilities. These abilities are also separated into 3 categories. The first 2 abilities are usually the resource summoning ability, where they're able to miraculously spawn in plants, minerals, or wildlife. This is the initial resource node that kicks off the starting requirement for the foundation of a village. The second category of skills for the giant is the aspect skill. Each giant having a unique type of aspect skill that is able to further improve a certain type of resource. This also may benefit the surrounding resources as well, as it creates a symbiosis. Simply put, aspect skills is an ability to upgrade or buff a resource node. For example, the forest giant can use his first ability, fruit plant, to, well, plant fruit trees obviously. This will create blueberries in a forest biome. Then, having the ocean giant creating chickens nearby, it will allow the chickens to feed off the blueberries, creating a form of symbiosis between them. This allows the production of more food for a village, benefiting both of the chickens and the blueberries, which in turn allows the village to grow even further with just these 2 resources. Of course, this is one of the many examples of how the aspects can be used, and there are complex graphs and guides detailing this if you really want to min-max your runs. The last type of abilities the giants have are abilities that can affect the environment and the villages directly. Well, all the other abilities do kind of do that, but what I mean is that they can attack, buff, or heal the land. Like I previously mentioned, the swamp giant and mountain giant have an ability to attack the villages and their armies directly. The ocean giant cannot attack, but can heal and buff the movement speed of the other giants. And the forest giant can move resource nodes from one piece of land to another, although they have to be from the same type of biome though. So, how does it all play out? Well, here's a simplified rundown of a playthrough. We start off with an empty world, barren lands that are unable to sustain life. The ruined earth stretches for miles and miles till it circles back. Amidst the emptiness are 4 slumbering giants that are now awoken to replant life. The giants terraform the land, creating oceans, forests, swamps, mountains, and deserts. The giants then seed life into each of the biomes, allowing settlements to be created. The humans prosper with riches and are able to expand their borders and lands, their villages increasing in size and population. Slowly, they are able to communicate with the giants, creating a friendly bond between the 2 races. Some of the settlements are awestruck by the miracles the giants perform. Some of them want the giants' power for themselves. Slowly, the sin of greed settling in their hearts and minds. War is raged, And with teary eyes and a heavy heart, the giants erase the settlement from the face of the planet. Now, maybe not be the best time for humans. The giants go back to sleep, hoping that the next time they wake up from their slumber, that the humans will show a different result. Playing this game and looking back on this, it really was a complex indie god game for sure. It was simple enough to understand and enjoyable enough to play, but it would definitely take a lot of time to master and a lot of trial and error to execute right. I'm curious, have you played Reus before? Let me know in the comments down below to your favorite god game sim and also what other games you would like me to cover. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like the video as it really means a lot to me. This has been Requiem of the IndieMasters. Have a great day everyone.